Hey guys, how's it going? Today I want to speak about the subject of, do people really need friends? Well, it really depends on the person that you are. Some people are more loners and some people are more outgoing and they need a lot of friends. But I think that just in general, we as human beings are not people that live by themselves. We are people who basically are very social, and we like to have people around us, right? In order to talk, to discuss things. And if we are too much by ourselves, well, then we're lacking that whole social aspect, and it makes us a little bit weird and awkward. And I would say that most people would like to have some form of company from time to time, even though it's important to have that moments where you're by yourself, basically, right? So that's the thing. So there's people who are more into hanging out a lot by themselves, but once in a while want to be social, and other people who basically don't really care too much. And that's where you have to make a lot of basically it's like looking into yourself. Like some people, they always want to be surrounded by a lot of people because maybe it helps them cope with the fact of being lonely. They need that, and it becomes almost a vice in some way. But just in general, I think that we are a social kind, and not having any friends at all would basically make us kind of crazy in some way. So for myself, I do like being alone by myself quite a lot, I'll be honest, because I do like to write, and I do like to ponder about things, and I do like to edit and do my art and do a lot of things, and I feel like I get very easily distracted. And then when I'm in social settings, sometimes I feel guilty because I'm having fun, but maybe I should be working. And I'm not saying that that's good. I do think that it's about finding that balance, really, right? Because you shouldn't feel guilty for having fun. But of course, if you just do it all the time, then you're not going to be very prolific. You're not going to be able to do your job right, if that makes sense. So, do we need friends? Do we not need friends? Well, I think we do. There's been tests actually where, for example, there's places where if you're deaf, for example, they don't really talk to you that much. They just think of you as handicapped, and they kind of leave you on your side and stuff like that. And then these people who, after some time, most of their young years, didn't speak, then they would later on have been taken in by maybe people who saw that, and they tried to teach them language, and they would communicate basic things such as I want to eat, I want to sleep, but they didn't really learn that art of conversation. And that's where we as a human being thrive on that kind of stuff, where we're able to tell our day, where we're able to speak about things, where we can create stuff from dreams, and have a sort of organized chaos within our city and our society and all that. And I do think, obviously, it's not because they weren't spoken to too much that they were not human. They're totally human, but the whole fact of that necessity of having to socialize and stuff like that never really came. They have the social bond thing where they like being around people and stuff, but it's much more in the way of animals, even though we are animals ourselves. But if you look at dogs, cats, lions, squirrels, whatever you want to call, but we'll just say like dogs and cats first of all, because they're easy to think of, because a lot of humans have interacted with them a lot and they live with them and stuff like that. So they talk in their own way, but it's not really shown by what they're verbally saying. And a lot of times it's basically the way that they stand next to you, or they try to get you to pet them, or if they want food and stuff like that. That's the way that they communicate, and they're very social beings, as are most creatures on this earth, because I think also at the same time there's procreation, if that makes sense. And if people don't mate, if people don't get into groups, well, guess what? Well, you're not going to be able to basically procreate or have an heir to your bloodline, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I definitely believe that as humans we need to have friends, but we also need to find that balance of being able to find that peace within ourselves to be alone, because there are some people who just cannot stay alone, and that's not good. But then you have also the other extreme, where there's movements in Japan where basically they don't want to be around anybody, and I think it has to do with the fact that their society sometimes is so perfectionist, where you have to do certain things, and some people can't adapt to that. So if they can't adapt to that way of living, they just become kind of like hermits in their own way, and then maybe because they're shy on top of that and other things, then maybe they start becoming asexual, where they realize that they won't be able to find partners, and they just kind of stay at home. But that's not really the right way to do things, because I think it's kind of going against nature in some way again, because we are social beings, and in order to be social, we like being around each other. It's kind of like a baby. If they're not loved, if they're not taken care of, well, they die. They're not able to nourish themselves. They're not able to teach themselves things on their own. You have to be at least a certain age, and somebody needs to care for you. So saying that nobody needs friends, it's not true, because what do you define as a friend? Family is friends too. Your wife is friend too. Your kid is a friend too. But of course it's more than that, because they're family. So I hope this makes sense. It at least makes sense to me. But yeah, we are definitely social beings, and we need to have people around us, otherwise we definitely start to go nuts. That's it for today. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon.